Snowflakes, one of the cool natural decorations we have for the holiday season. And though they say no two snowflakes can be alike, when it comes to holiday decorating with lights, you can have as many of the same snowflake as you choose to have. But there are a lot of different varieties out there that you can pick, and today we're going to cover one of those. We're going to go over the Gilbert Engineering XLS450 Snowflake. We're going to show you how it's mounted. We're going to show you all the different strapping to the back, how to wire it, the different patterns and submodels you can do in the Xlights program, how we've actually attached it to our house, what it costs to get everything, and then finally what it looks like all lit up. So we hope you enjoy this little product presentation of something we're going to be adding to our holiday display this year. All right, guys, like we normally do, we're just going to take you through the process of all the different pieces that we want to get to put our snowflake together, and that's going to include some of the mounting hardware that we're going to need to put this onto our house, as well as the lights, and then we'll give you a spreadsheet of the total cost it's going to do this. There are a few options on things that you can do yourself, which can save you a little bit of money, and we'll also cover those options for you as well. The Gilbert Engineering 450 XLS Flake is what we've chosen to put on our house this year. It's a great prop. It's a high density prop. It's got 450 lights on it. And you do have a few options. You can get it in black or you can get it in white. That's your choice, depending on what you'd like the look to be. You also have two sizes. You can go for the 46-inch, which is what we chose, which is $55. Or you can drop down to the 36-inch. It's smaller, but it still has 450 nodes on it. And that is, you can get also, as well as you can even have the wiring diagram printed on the back. I do believe they charge an additional $20 for that, if that's something you would like to help with that wiring process. And then for us, though, we chose to save a little bit of money on that, and we actually just drew the diagram based on the wiring diagram that's in Xlights, and we'll show you how to get to that when we get to that process and this whole procedure. So basically, it's going to cost us $55 per flake. Shipping was $15 and some change for just one. When we bought two, the shipping only went up $1. Like we always say in these videos, make sure you order everything you want at once to bring that overall shipping cost down, because it's just, they're large items and they're going to pay oversized rates no matter what you do. So you might as well get it all at once to save yourself a little bit when it comes to the shipping. As far as mounting and how we're going to put this on our house, we went to Doug's site, Inspire Light Shows, and he has a fantastic selection of different hardware mounts that you can use for your Coro props, especially the high density props that have a lot of weight to them and really need a firm mounting system on them to hold them in place, as well as to hold them to your structure. And he has some options where you can buy them already printed, or you can even, with Doug, purchase the files. If you have a 3D printer like we have behind us, you can save yourself some money by just buying the plans that he's come up with, printing them yourself, and they're for your own personal use. When you do that, you can't all of a sudden start printing them and selling them to other people. That's a no-no. They're there for you to buy the plans, print, and use for your own personal use. And so you have some options. So if we actually want it, and they have different things for Gilbert Engineering as well as for Boscoyo Studios, Argus, Falcons, mounting supplies, you name it. There's a ton of different resources here. And under the files, he has the same thing, including he has a section under free, and we'll take a look at that real briefly. But we're going to go get the Gilbert Engineering, and we want to come down to the flake. And there it is. That's the snowflake that we're going to use. We want to get the mounting brackets. He has it in two styles, one that's kind of a cross and one that's more of a star with 6 connectors on it. But we're going to go for the basic, the cross mount system here. And here's where you get your options. We're going to go with the 46-inch. And we want to do the cross mount. And we can see there the total is going to be $39 to get this, and that includes everything in yellow there, including some adapters for our PVC cross piece so that the piping can go in. When we get all that, we'll show you how that's particularly done. So that's what it's going to cost, $39.95 to have him print it, and then there's some shipping costs, which is about $9. If you chose, though, on the other hand, to go and just purchase the files, the STLs, then it's a lot cheaper to do that. So we go down to the flake and we select the flake we want, and we tell them that we want to do the 46-inch flake and we want to do the cross mount, and it's $15 just for the flake. So we saved ourselves quite a bit of money by being able to print our own if we have our own 3D printer. Also, you're going to have to think about not only the mounting that needs to go on the snowflake itself, but how are you then going to take the 1/2-inch EMT pipe and mount it to your house? And he has also some great mounting options for that. And you have both the options of getting him printed as well as buying the file and printing it yourself. And he's got a lot of different options, but we chose this one, the EMT mounting system. And we'll show you all these pieces when we're done here and we start putting everything together on the snowflake. So you'll physically be able to see the size and everything. It's kind of hard to tell from that picture. Is that the size of a quarter, $half, or larger? And it's actually larger than a $1/2. So when you see it, you'll see it's a good size. And he's got a lot of good features built into that, which we'll go over when we can show you the physical piece. So with that, we also chose to pick the file. And he's got some free ones just to kind of show you what's there. You know, if you're doing a rosary, he's got some free ones. Spin reel, he's got free ones. Some different mounting styles if you want, and then an assortment of clips, as well as these bushings are fantastic if you want to get your 1/2-inch EMT into 1/2-inch PVC connectors, and they fit wonderfly and let things slide in, as well as some generic mounts, which we used for another prop that we'll be discussing here down the road, that were a perfect fit for what we were doing. So that is kind of the mounting side that we're going to do. And of course, the lights, we got our lights from Wally's because Wally does a good job at getting all of our lights to us. So here's kind of the overall cost of everything. You can see here, you know, the snowflake was $70 with shipping. The lights was $114. All the mounting. And then the only thing we had to get in the hardware store was a piece of 10-foot EMT pipe, 1/2-inch, and well as one cross piece. And so to make one, it's going to be $271. Granted, if you make two, shipping cost comes down when you get multiples. And the other thing, if you decide to print, you had your own 3D printer, you would save over $50 just printing your own mounts instead of buying them and paying for the shipping, because you have to factor that shipping cost in also. So those are some things to think about when it comes to getting all the different pieces for your particular prop. And that's one thing. When you get any prop, you really have to think ahead. How am I going to mount this to my house? What am I mounting it to? Because a lot of times it's easier to put this mounting stuff on prior to putting your lights into your prop. Otherwise, you got to take lights out, put your mounts on, and then push the lights back in. So that's something to think about also. So with that, let's go ahead and we're going to jump into the other room and we're going to show you everything that we purchased in a kind of a different setting, because this is, can't do it on my workbench. This is 46 inches. So I've got like a spinning stool we can set everything on and give you a good view of all the pieces. And we'll start putting this sucker together. We'll see you in the other room. All right, here is the snowflake. When it comes shipped, folded in half. The option to get it shipped whole is a huge shipping cost, or you can do that if you pick it up from them. It also comes with these two bracer pieces, which when you unfold the snowflake, they will go right here, and you will zip tie them to give it stability. The mounts that we got that we showed you in the video, here is what they look like. These are the pieces. You have 4 of these and 2 of these. These each fit right over here, and it's pre-cut. The holes are even pre-drilled to match these. You will have to drill these 2 holes and these 2 holes. And then these pieces, one goes here, and the other one goes down here. And you will have to drill the holes for those pieces. So, and this first step, we're going to take and zip tie all of our brackets into place so that we can then put the lights in. It makes the whole process a lot simpler because the lights go through the holes. And you can see here also we have drawn out our pattern on the snowflake already. And the reason we did this, you can see like there's our start point up there at the top. Let me turn it so you can see it. Here's our start point right here. And the whole first part is just out all the way around. So that was a pretty easy process. But then when it came back inside, it started to skip. So we would skip. So we're just going to follow the loop all the way through. Also, a good tip is every 100 pixels, mark that number on there. So like we've got a number here, number 100. So I know when I hit this number, it should be the end of my strand. If I've got a pixel left over or I'm short, I goofed up somewhere. So I need to go back and find it, which I have done before. Forget to push a pixel in the middle of a string. You can take them all out or cut it out and put it at the end. So it's something you can do. This is 450 nodes. So we are going to do 2 strands of 225. So I did actually buy some 25 strand pixels because it's really good for projects like this. Instead of having to cut off a piece and get some extra pigtails to sink them or use some soldering and some shrink sleeves, we prefer just to purchase the smaller strands, especially on an even numbered. 450 was a perfect 225 per channel is what we're going to run on this. So with that, let's go ahead and start zip tying this whole process together, and we'll get that going. One thing too, before I speed this up, a real easy way to figure out which way you want the zip tie. If you want it to pull down, so this little knob piece is at the bottom when you do the pulling, you want to always start at the top. If you want it to be on the other side, you need to start at the bottom. Just kind of one of those little weird physics on how these zip ties work. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, like I said, if you're going to do a whole bunch of zip tying, it's a real nice tool to have. I mean, you just simply just put it over the top. Let's put it on something here too. Like say it's on this piece of poling there. And it just pulls it tight. And it'll pull it super tight, as tight as you can get. And to cut it, you just squeeze the button down here at the bottom. And it cuts it right flush. So it's got a built-in cutter also. So it's something. If you do a ton, it can save your hands a little bit of time. And it's a good tool to have. Something to think about. I'll put a link, like I said, in the description to all these little different things. But if you don't have one of those, I would at least recommend getting a pair of these, because this allows you to get right down to the edge and cut these off. It's nice, it's smooth, and flat to your surface. And they're just a little zip tie cutter there. Make sure you dispose of these. My wife likes to call this Christmas poop, because every time I put up decorations in the yard or around the house, these are all over the place, and I don't pick up my poo very well, so pick up your Christmas poo. There we go, all the Christmas poo off. And if you need to get off zip ties, this works just as well to go in there and cut to undo a tight zip tie. So all of our mountings are on. Now we're going to get to our PVC, not our PVC, but our EMT, and we're going to show you that process, including how to cut your EMT, should you not know how and not have a fancy cutter. We're just going to use a cheap little cutter. Okay, so the pieces we're going to need a few pieces. We're going to need our EMT pipe. We're going to need our PVC cross, 1/2 inch. Our bushings, that came with the kit when we bought them, or if we printed them, we printed the bushings so that we could put them in 1/2-inch PVC, and that would then allow EMT to fit snugly in there, like so. Okay, so that's that process there. And then we're going to show you how this all goes together, including this is EMT and it's metal. How do you cut it? If you have one of these tools here, and these are cheap, I think about $15. Lots of places you get them, local hardware store, Amazon's got them real cheap. You don't need a fancy brand. But wherever you're going to mark it, you just screw this on tight like so, not super tight, enough so you can turn, and it will start to score. And then as you turn this handle to tighten, and you keep turning, tight, turn, tighten, turn. And there you have it. Then it comes with a little blade piece on the end that you can take and put in the scored end to make sure you get all the sharp edges down. And it may even be a good idea to file the edge just to make sure there's nothing sharp. And that's how you can cut EMT with one of these little tools. So for our piece to work completely, you need to have your bushing and your cross piece, which will go here. And then you're going to have your long piece, which will go in this side. Like so. And then it's going to go into your piece here. And then you're going to run it all the way across over to here. Like so. And then you need two smaller pieces that you are going to insert into the ends. I'm not sure which one this one was, but you'll put one in this way. And you'll line up your cross piece. And then you'll do the same on the other piece. Putting it in this side if you had one. Line it up, put them in your bushings, and then this is where you can mark where you want to then take it off and cut it to the length that you want. I will tell you that on these pieces here on the edge, we've already mounted this on the house, but on this piece here, we made it longer because these have bolts, holes in them, and the mounting pieces that we got, that we printed off that plan, it's a very nice piece. It's got room for a nut at the bottom. If you don't want to use a nut, you can also secure it with a zip tie. It's got zip tie slots through it, so you can zip tie, but I preferred the nut because this will go on the house. Let me turn this. This piece will get mounted to the house. And then this will go, depending on how we have it here. The bolt will go through the hole that I've already drilled. It will go into this unit right here, which will screw in, securing it firmly to the house. And when we go outside, you'll be able to see that process. But basically, this is just going to go on here. And then it's going to screw in. And that's going to hold it to our house. That's why this is a really good mounting piece. And we've also built this mounting system to swap out other props of similar sizes at Halloween, which we'll cover when we do our spider preview, that fit in the exact same spot using the exact same poles, so I don't have to have multiple units mounted all over the house. We can use the same ones for multiple props. So that's kind of what we did. So now that we've shown you how it mounts on the back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the poles out, and then we're going to start pushing some pixels. No need to bother you with that process, but we'll fast forward through the video and get it all done, and then we'll move on to the next steps. All right, so we're about to push pixels. Now, the nice thing about this prop, these are square holes. These bullet pixels fit into them very nicely. Other props, you may want to use something like a pixel pusher, which you can get. There's plenty of people that have the plans if you want to print your own, and there's even some people that sell these, where you just simply go and push it right through, and it's that simple. Very easy to use, especially with this kind of material here. You always want to make sure too that you're starting with the end that's going to plug into your controller, because that's where the data is coming in. You don't want the other end, or you'll end up having to either reverse your model and Xlights or rewire the whole thing. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start pushing pixels, and we know we're going to check when we get to the 100 mark, the 200 mark, and then the 225. And then again at the 325, 425, and 450 is where we should end. So we'll see you when, we'll talk to you when this whole process is over. So I don't know if you caught that, but we actually had 2 pixels that were down to here, past our 100 mark, which meant I messed up, and sure enough, right around the corner here, I skipped the lower one here and the lower one here. So that's why it's really good to put that mark in. And luckily I didn't have to take the whole string out, but it would have been terrible if I'd done the whole thing and found out had a lot of extra pixels I shouldn't have had. So that's the whole point in doing that. So let's keep going. And there we have it, all pushed in. And if you see an empty hole, you know you missed one. It looks like we got them all good. Perfect. Well, if you're watching this video on the day of release, I just want to say real quickly, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there who may be pushing pixels as they're watching a video. I know we're having a great day ourselves. We're finishing up this video, and we have some meat in the smoker the wife and daughter got me for Father's Day, so we're looking forward to breaking a little bit of bread here later on this evening. But with that, now that we've got all of our pixels pushed, and we've got our mounts on the prop, and we got our poles cut, I wanted to take you real quickly into Xlights and show you how you can bring the prop into your model, into your layout, as well as where the wiring diagram is for those who may not be familiar where it is, and then some of the submodels that are available to you. And then we're going to try and drop an effect in a basic sequence just so you can kind of see them. And when we're finished with that whole process, we're going to take you out into the garage where we've got the prop already laid out with everything set to go. We'll show you the mounts that are on the house, how to put the prop in, and then we did a video last night of the prop in action in dark, so you can kind of get a better visual representation, because sometimes looking through this Xlights program, it's not quite the same. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump in. And to bring the prop down into it, you're just going to click on create a new download and click on your screen. And then you're just going to do a search for XLS. And the nice thing, most of the major vendors have a lot of their models in here, including some of the submodels. So if you bring in Gilbert Engineering Snowflake here, you will see that it also has all of the submodels are in there also for you to work with. The other thing that's really cool is if you bring in a second model, it doesn't work if you copy and paste, but if you bring in a second model, create new, we'll put in XLS, we'll find it, and we'll drop it in. And do you want to add these models to the existing models? Yes, we do. That's kind of the cool thing. And there's our two snowflakes. And if we look in here, we'll see that there's the drumsticks left. And this is where sometimes I've noticed on this one, there's the error. It, for some reason, does not bring all of the arms in for the second model. So we're going to make sure somebody knows about that, and hopefully they can get that fixed. I'm sure it's on the Xlights side, because if it came in right the first time, it's not that the models weren't loaded. There's something wrong when it brings in a second one. So with that, we are going to go ahead and try to put a sequence on this, just so you can kind of see that process. And it's nothing fancy. We're just going to do a musical sequence. Doesn't matter what song we select, 40 frames. And then let's just put a effect on there, shall we? Let's do a pinwheel. There we go. Pretty cool. Stretch it out here a little bit. And let's change this to overlay center. And there you can see what it looks like. And then if we bring it down, you can see it changes with every layer. So that's how it looks on all the different models. And that's just one particular effect on overlay center. And that's just one model. I mean, anytime you change any effect on any effect, it's going to totally change the way it looks. So there's so many different variations you can do just by even doing render style. It can have a totally different look, and that's kind of the fun thing when you're dealing, especially with high density props. There's a lot of cool things that you can do. So with that, now let's go ahead and jump into the garage, and we'll get this next part all finished up. All right, so you can see on the EMT poles, we actually use some screws on the up and down parts, but on the cross beam, we didn't, because we wanted that flexibility to be able to slide a little bit to the left or right to adjust things up. And then here are the actual plates on our house that we have for the particular snowflake. You see the one on the right, in the center, and then on the left. We're thinking about putting a fourth one down below just to add a little bit of stability. And then here you can see where they actually bolt into the actual mount. Let me get a little closer here. And that's what's going to hold them in, one on each side. And then we'll probably put a bolt in the one at the bottom, but the one in the center underneath doesn't have one. So that's the overview there. And now let's take and show you what it looks like all lit up at night. Well, guys, we hope you didn't leave as much Christmas poo lying around as we did when we made our snowflakes. We also hope you got a lot of good information out of this, which might help you decide whether this is going to be the right type of prop for you to have in your display. Coming up next is going to be a video on our praying spiders, which we're going to do for the Halloween season. And it's going to use the same mounting system that we have with these snowflakes, making it easy for us to transition from one holiday season into another by simply replacing props using the existing mounts already on our house. It should really simplify that process for that. We're also hoping to get this video out before Vegas, the big convention that we've been hoping for quite some time. It'll be in a couple of weeks, so if we don't make it, maybe we'll see you in Vegas instead. We plan on being there, and we hope to share some stories, tips, and ideas while you're in Vegas. With that, we're coming close to the end, and we're going to do another giveaway like we've been trying to do in these videos. And again, it's going to be for 4 strands of 25 pixels each. They are X-Connect, they are 12 volt, and those are the ones that we bought in mistake. That's going to be the last of them. And we're going to pick the winner right after the convention in Vegas. So middle of July is when we're going to pull the name for that one. To enter is real simple. Like all of them, you need to be one of our subscribers. You need to give the video a thumbs up, and you need to leave a comment in the comment as to what you would do with those pixels. And if you don't know how to subscribe, it's just that simple button right over here. We'll also put up a couple of good videos for you to check out that we've done in the past. And until next time, guys, have a great time and a safe holiday season.